Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, James Sweeney from Modern Wall Street, this time not in the Big Apple, but actually in Sydney, Australia, down under, and where else would I be than at the ASX? And standing to my right is the Executive General Manager of Listings at the ASX, Mr. Max Cunningham. Max, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me here at the ASX.
Great, and welcome to Australia and welcome to ASX, James.
Thank you very much. I have to ask you a question. It's not every day that I get the opportunity to go to Australia and walk inside the actual exchange.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little bit of background, not just myself, other Americans as well, as to the importance of this building, especially that of what's around me right now, including the flags and the board?
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking. I think one of the things that your listeners might not know so well is ASX, even though we're sort of, as a country, 50th in the world for population and about 22nd in the world for GDP, we're one of the world's top 10 capital markets. ASX is a $10 billion company, which sees it rank globally and very, very favourably with even most of the North American stock exchanges. We're one of the largest capital markets in the world and the largest in the region. And ASX, has been one of the big listing venues for international companies for the best part of the last 5 years.
Okay, so that leads directly into my second question.
Yeah.
Last year, the ASX, 2016, I read a report stating that the ASX did more international overseas listings than the NASDAQ in Times Square. How did that come about? How is that possible for this exchange to do so well?
Well, I think there's probably, James, three reasons. I think the first is the size of the capital market that I mentioned. We've got a compulsory savings scheme in Australia, which has 9% of everybody's pay goes into it. That's been going in since 1992 and is currently sits at around about $1.8 trillion. That, secondly, ASX has got one of the strongest brands in the world for listings. We're a single board, we're a main board. Some of the other international exchanges have second boards. And then thirdly, where we've been very, very successful in multiple markets is attracting companies below the $1 billion mark. These are companies that are finding it more and more expensive, regulatory burden in some of the Northern Hemisphere markets more challenging. And in Australia, they get straight into the index, they get broad coverage, and of course they're coming in sectors that are very well understood by the local investor base.
So the Australian Stock Exchange for Americans, we've always thought of it as being the commodities center.
Yeah.
But it seems like not you, but the Australian markets itself have slowly went over into the tech sector. Is that the case? Is that really helping this industry? Or?
It's a great question, James, and I think if you went back 5-10 years ago, the market was heavily skewed towards commodities. We also have a very, very big financials market here. We've got big four banks, a lot of insurers regionally and globally. But we actually made a conscious effort at the ASX about 4 years ago to chase tech. We had some tech listings that were looking at going Australia or NASDAQ. We encouraged them to come here. They were embraced, and we've had a wave of Australian, New Zealand, Singapore, Israeli and US companies that have followed that strategy. Even recently, we've had successful tech listings that have come out of Ireland and continental Europe.
Last question. Short term, long term. What do you see moving forward, 2017 and beyond for the ASX?
Look, I think we're going to continue to be chasing good engagement of those, what we call mid-cap tech listings from overseas. We've got more money going into our national savings schemes than there are companies to invest. People want exposure to US dollar, they want exposure to US tech. We've also spending a lot of time in places like Minneapolis, Medical Alley, Palo Alto. So I think we'll continue to chase that. I think the big themes for ASX in 2018 will be US, Israel and tech. I think they're the areas where we're going to continue to see strong engagement.
Mr. Cunningham, thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with me, and thank you for welcoming me to the ASX.
Great, it's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, James.